The dusty air of the ranch hung heavy as the crowd gathered, their whispers cutting through the evening silence while the lonely rancher stood beside his horse, eyes fixed on the young pregnant woman raised above the ground like a thing being judged rather than a human being, her bare feet trembling on the wooden platform as she clutched her swollen belly, knowing every stare carried a sentence already decided before she could speak, and beside her stood the woman who had brought her into this world, now pointing and shouting as if selling her own flesh was an act of survival rather than betrayal, telling everyone that the girl was a burden, a shame, a mouth she could no longer feed, while the rancher listened without interrupting, his face hardened by years of solitude, loss, and nights spent alone under endless skies, remembering how loneliness can hollow a man until silence becomes louder than pain, and when the older woman demanded payment, he reached into his coat and held up the small cloth bag, not as a buyer hungry for ownership but as a man determined to stop cruelty in its tracks. The crowd mistook his silence for agreement and some even smirked, thinking they were witnessing another dark transaction of the frontier, but when he stepped forward, his voice calm yet unshakable, he said he wasn't buying a servant, nor a wife, nor a body, he was buying her freedom, and the words rippled through the onlookers like a sudden wind, the pregnant woman lifting her head for the first time, eyes wide with disbelief as the rancher placed the money into the older woman's hands and told her to leave, never to return, and though the woman hesitated, greed outweighed guilt and she vanished into the dust, leaving her daughter behind trembling and alone, until the rancher extended his hand, not commanding, not demanding, simply offering, telling her she was safe now, that no one would ever sell her again, and as she stepped down from the platform, tears slid silently down her face, not from fear this time but from the unfamiliar weight of kindness, and while the crowd slowly dispersed, confused and uneasy, the rancher led her toward his horse, explaining she would stay at his ranch as long as she needed, that there would be no expectations, no debts, only food, shelter, and respect, and during the days that followed, the lonely ranch transformed in ways no fence or plow ever could, as the woman found peace in simple routines and the rancher found purpose in protecting two fragile lives, watching over her through long nights as childbirth approached, haunted by the thought that one cruel decision could have erased them both. And when the child finally came into the world beneath the same vast sky, the rancher stood outside the cabin, tears in his eyes, realizing that in saving her, he had unknowingly saved himself, for the laughter of a newborn echoed across the land where silence once ruled, and the man who thought he would die alone learned that sometimes destiny doesn't arrive through love or glory, but through a moment when one person chooses mercy over tradition, courage over comfort, and humanity over the cold laws of survival.